So the other day I was watching a YouTube video on the Y Combinator channel, and just to preface, I'm not a huge fan of Y Combinator in general. That's a different topic. But this video was a short presentation that was being put on by, I believe it was the person who started Y Combinator. And the topic of the video was just about, maybe it was the 7 steps or 10 steps or something like that on how to start a SaaS company. And I said, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm trying to start a SaaS company, trying to build a SaaS application. So I should probably watch this video. And I'm watching the video, and the first step, or maybe the second step, he says, you have to quit your job. In order to create a successful SaaS company, you have to quit your job and have maybe like a year's worth of savings saved up to even go into this adventure. And that just didn't sit super well with me. I think it's pretty unreasonable advice, not knowing everybody's background, their financial situation, their family situation, medical situation, anything along those lines. And I think it really made me want to make a video about my experience trying to build a SaaS application with a full-time job. For some people, obviously it might be the right decision to quit their jobs and to leap into this space with nothing holding them back. And for those people, absolutely go for it. But I do think there is a large percentage of folks who are trying to build SaaS applications who that's just not feasible. And myself included, I have absolutely no plans in the near future to quit my job to pursue this. This is something that I like to do outside of work hours and that I like to just do in my free time. It's something that I enjoy, and that's all that it really is at the moment. So yeah, in this video, really just want to talk about 4 things that when I sat down and thought about what is important for building a SaaS application with a full-time job, these 4 things kind of jumped out at me, and yeah, let's just get right into them. So the first thing, and this may seem super obvious, is you have to have good time management. When it comes to building an application, that first and foremost takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of mental energy, takes a lot of planning. And if you're trying to do this while you have a full-time job, it's gonna feel like a lot, especially if you can't manage your time well. This is gonna look a lot different for different people. Some folks are really productive in the morning and they're able to wake up and do some work before work. Some folks are night owls, and once the sun goes down, they're able to get their work done. So it really is all about finding dedicated times throughout the day that you can carve out and focus solely on building your SaaS application. When it comes to coding, if I'm not 100% focused on the task at hand, so whatever piece of code it is that I'm writing, I'm gonna do a horrible job. It's gonna take me way longer than it needs to. If I'm able to just solely focus on one feature that I'm building, or a bug, or just one function, I'm so much more productive. So if you're able to, throughout your day, just carve out these like 30-minute to an hour pieces of your day. If you can do more than that, that's great. But for me, this really just comes in like these 30-minute to an hour chunks, and I'm able to just really focus for that 30 minutes to an hour and just work on one aspect of my SaaS. Some folks, I'll say, some folks probably have jobs too where they're able to work during their workday. I don't know what your job is. For me, it's not really feasible. We definitely have a lot of things that we're trying to push out at work, and so I'm constantly busy with that. Also, I'm pretty sure it says in my company handbook that you're not allowed to work on anything during work hours, which is totally fair. But maybe if you've got a lunch break, that's perfect too. You got 30 minutes to an hour for a lunch break, and if you're able to bang something out for your SaaS, that's a good use of that time. The second thing that came to mind when I was thinking about how to build SaaS applications with a full-time job is really tied into this first one of time management, but it's really all about staying organized. It can be super beneficial to plan out all of your work ahead. So for example, as a software engineer, we plan out our sprints in advance. We plan the 2 weeks of work that we're going to do. And inside those 2 weeks, we break down individual features or bug fixes into tasks, into stories, into tickets. And I think that's a good way to approach building your own SaaS application too. You might look at a larger initiative like building the backend for your application. How can you break that down into smaller chunks that are manageable? Chunks that are big enough to make you feel like you accomplished something by doing that, but small enough that they're able to maybe be done in that 30-minute to an hour window that you have. In my experience, something that's worked really well for me is when I'm planning out my work, I know that some things are going to be more difficult and require more time than others. So I'll kind of have buckets of these work. So there might be a bucket of tasks that I know will take around 30 minutes, and then maybe another bucket for tasks that'll take an hour. And then I'll have ones, if I'm able to carve out more, maybe on a weekend or something like that, I'll be able to work on something that is like a 2-hour task. And so having these tasks that are in their predefined time buckets is really helpful, because say I'm able to take out an hour in my day after work, I know, oh, I have an hour to work on something, so I'll just take something out of the hour bucket and I can just focus on that for that hour and try and knock it out. Obviously, this is the most ideal situation where something actually takes the amount of time that you thought it was going to take. In a lot of cases, that's not what happens, and you end up banging your head on the keyboard for an hour and you accomplish nothing. But that's just part of software development, and those things do happen. But I will say that not all tasks obviously have to be coding related. There are so many things that we have to do in order to successfully run our SaaS. So, that might include marketing or design, or reaching out to other people who are going to promote your product or be interested in your product. So don't think that all of these tasks have to just be building the software itself. Definitely set aside some 30-minute tasks for, if you have to create some piece of content for your SaaS application, or if you have to, reach out to X amount of people for cold leads or something like that, set aside 30 minutes to do that. And breaking it up this way so that it's not all just coding all the time or marketing all the time is really nice and a good way to stay motivated throughout the entire process. The third thing that came to mind as I was thinking through this is, in order to build a SaaS application while you're working, like I said, it's a lot of work. You might already be doing your 40-hour work week and then throwing another 20 to 30 hours a week on top of that, building your application. It's a lot. So understanding your why, having a very clear goal of what you want to accomplish with this application is really going to help you find the motivation to keep working on it even when you're tired after your 40-hour work week. If this isn't something that you've really thought about before, if you're just solely driven for, I just want to make X amount of dollars, that's certainly part of it. But I would definitely sit down and just ask yourself, why exactly am I doing this? What is the goal at the end of all this pain and process? What am I trying to accomplish? For some people, maybe your goal is to quit your job with this. You want to make enough money where it is feasible to quit your job. Or some people just want a side hustle that they're able to make an extra income on top of their normal income. And that's a perfectly valid goal as well. And maybe your goal isn't even income based at all. So for example, some people, and myself included to an extent, are building things because they want to get better at building things. I think as I'm building my application, I'm getting better as a developer. I'm thinking more about the customers. I'm thinking about how to design things in a way that makes sense for them. I'm thinking about code quality and how easy it's going to be for myself in 2 to 3 months to come back to my code and make changes or fix bugs. I'm thinking about database design and just good decisions up front that will help me design a nice data model that'll make it easier to build features on top of it in the future. And then of course, on top of all that, I'm coding all of these things. So each of these are very valuable skills for me as a software engineer, and I can take this into my day-to-day and know that I'm improving as a developer outside of work, and it's going to eventually help me in my career as well. So like I said, definitely if you haven't had that conversation with yourself and really sat down and figured out why you're doing this, before you write another line of code, I would honestly have that conversation. There's one other big thought that came to my mind when it comes to building a SaaS application with a full-time job. And I think honestly this one's probably the most important. Avoid burnout at all costs. I think it's very easy to start building and feel like you have to go at 100 miles an hour, because there's a lot of folks in the space right now that are talking about building SaaS applications in a weekend, or building a SaaS application in a week, and then all of a sudden it's making $10,000 a month in revenue. And I guess, yes, sometimes that probably does happen, but I don't think that that should be the norm. And I don't think that you should be freaking yourself out, feeling like you have to build whatever you're building at super speed just because some other folks are doing that. Feeling that way, I think, is probably the easiest way to burn yourself out, especially when you're working a full-time job, because at the end of the day, that full-time job is probably your priority, and building your application is kind of a secondary thing on top of that. So I would really try and pace yourself. I would think about the product that you're trying to build before you even build it, and really just think to yourself like, oh, how long is this going to take me to build realistically in a very controlled manner? Not where I'm coding 50 hours a week. Think about the actual amount of hours that you're able to dedicate this every week. For myself, this is anywhere from like 10 to 20 hours, I would say. And I think that's even pushing it sometimes. Like, I think there are definitely weeks where I don't even work 10 hours a week on this. And that's totally fine. There's nobody pushing me. I think the best part about this is like, there's no product manager barking down my neck saying, oh, we got to get this feature out like next week. There's none of that. It's just me. There's no race, and I just want to enjoy this process as much as possible. I also think you just do better work when you're happy and you're motivated, and both of those things are not going to be possible if you're burnt out. You're going to be kind of miserable, you're not going to be happy, and the ideas aren't going to be flowing, and you may even reach a point where you feel like you can't even pick it up and can't even work anymore. Overall, just be kind to yourself. Take breaks. If you need to take a week away from it, just step away, kind of refresh and charge your batteries. Or if you have something really important going on at work and you can't really focus on two things at once, just put the SaaS application on the burner for a second and know that you'll be able to pick it up later when you're in a better headspace. And ultimately, you'll probably do better work as well. Oh, and get enough sleep. That actually matters a lot too. 7 to 8 hours is nice. I think those were all of the thoughts that came to my mind though when I was thinking about, what does it take to build a SaaS application with a full-time job? And I definitely think it's feasible to do it. I very much disagree with the fact that you have to quit your job in order to start a SaaS application. I thought that was an insane advice to give. It's totally possible with a full-time job. You just might have to do a little bit more planning up front, and that's totally fine. But if you have any other strategies that folks can use to build an application with the full-time job, definitely leave them down in the comments. I'm curious to see if folks are taking certain time management strategies or other ways that they're avoiding burnout. Definitely let me know down in the comments. If you're interested in SaaS applications, building SaaS applications, devlogs, all those kind of things, definitely subscribe. I'll be doing tons of videos on that. But yeah, just wanted to thank you for watching all the way through this video. I really appreciate that, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.